There's this quiet pressure on working parents, especially moms, to figure everything out at once: kids, career, money, identity, and to do it without burning out. How is that even possible? So, today's guest is someone who has lived that reality and navigated multiple career pivots while raising children. All right. So, she trained as a vet, moving into business analysis, project management, and now IT compliance. I'm still going to leave you to introduce yourself to us, all while raising children and running a YouTube channel now. So that's not a straight line, right? It's sort of a squiggly career, which is something we talk about on this channel. So as we know, childcare costs are rising. Remote work is shrinking since after the pandemic. We went from few remote work, pandemic, remote work skyrocketed, and then people are like, oh no, we need to work more in person, and it's declining. It's on the decline, okay? And many parents feel stuck between career growth and family life. This is even true for me. So today's conversation is about how one working mom, our guest, made it work, how she made it work. It's not going to be perfect. Apparently, anyone who says it's perfect is not saying the whole truth imperfectly, but intentionally and honestly. So today I'm joined by a working mom, content creator, YouTuber, and career pivot pro. She's done it like a pro. The voice behind the channel on YouTube here, Life with Eggy. She's worked across vet medicine, business analysis, project management, and now IT compliance, all while raising children and documenting real life on YouTube. So this conversation is for parents, moms, career switchers, dads, and anyone trying to build a life that actually works. Cool. So let's start from the beginning. Eggy, can you briefly walk us through your career journey from vet medicine in Nigeria, UNN, to where you are now? What inspired or what triggered each transition? Can you just walk us through your career journey?
Thank you for that introduction. So, quickly on that, my career has definitely not been linear, as you said. It's been mostly squiggly. I originally trained as a veterinary surgeon in UNN. And at the time, I felt that was my identity. I felt that that was something I wanted to do. And I would say that I did really work hard towards achieving that degree. At the time, I wanted to go into research and also lecturing. But towards the end of my degree, I got married and eventually I had a child at the last year of my degree. And that came a whole new season and I
Mm.
needed to rethink. And also at that point, I knew that after my degree, I was going to move to the UK. So on arriving in the UK, I started thinking about what next. How do I continue with my veterinary medicine degree? How do I move into, working as a vet in the UK? And I came to understand that it required a lot more than what is actually required for human medicine. So I needed to see practice. This is where you do internship without getting paid, and you needed to be on ground. And remember, I had a child that was under one at the time. So I needed to quickly figure out what was best for my family and that season of my life. And this is where I then moved on into business analysis. Moving on into business analysis, I went in through a trainee program where I had to undertake trainings, especially not having a computer engineering background. So I needed to upskill. And also for
Oh
somebody
my.
that felt comfortable in biology. So these are two different things. Computing is all about maths and physics and all of the engineering things I had no clue about. And me coming from somewhere that I was quite comfortable with, I needed to upskill quite quickly. And then moving on to business analysis, I was on this in this domain for a while, and it was quite interesting. And after a while, I started thinking about what next for myself. I needed to upskill, I needed to move on,
Mm.
I needed to think about what next I could do with myself, especially if you've been in a role where you're quite comfortable, you needed to challenge yourself. So that was when I started thinking about what next. And thankfully, during that period, I had the opportunity to move on to project management. And moving on to project management was via the on-the-job apprenticeship. I think you've talked about this before. So I had that opportunity, and it was the best opportunity possible because it gave me that chance to continue to learn while still working and getting fully paid in my current role. There was no pressure. I just needed to align and make sure that I was doing the things I was supposed to
Alignment.
be doing at that point, and also holding myself to account because it wasn't easy. You had to think about the coursework, you had to think about the upcoming exams, and you also had to think about delivering on your job. Not even talking about home life. So I needed to be true to myself and understood
Mm.
why I was doing what I was doing. And while I was in project management for a while, I decided to think about what next.
What
So we are
next?
we are always
What
thinking about
next?
what next. So in that space, it was, oh, do I move up the ladder in project management? But I felt like I wanted to do something more interesting. And that was where I got to know about data governance, information security, cyber security. And I was like, okay, that is also an opportunity. And I would say this is also where people need to think about moving linearly. What are the other opportunities within your current company or
Horizontal
outside there?
moves. Horizontal
Yes,
moves. Yeah.
exactly. What are the transferable skills that you can
Transferable
have
skills.
to move on to some other role? So moving on, what do you call it? Linear movement for me means that doesn't mean that I have to take a pay cut. It actually can be a pay increase, but you're moving on to somewhere else that requires higher skills, but then you'd also get that opportunity to upskill while
So
moving
it's
on,
like stretching yourself
stretching
in a
yourself,
good
getting
way.
in a good way, getting better pay, but not with the title probably. So you need to think about what works best for your life and the current season of your life. So I would say each transition was triggered by a mix of life changes, motherhood, and also being honest with myself, and also
Honesty.
where I wanted to see myself in the future. And yeah, that's what I would say it was.
Mm, thank you so, so much for that. I picked a lot of things, and maybe as we go on, we're going to unpack them gradually. I liked how you talked about honesty, being true to yourself, what was working for you, not what someone else recommended. This is where I am. This is what I want to do, and this works for me. Thank you so much for that. I picked some points there, and we're going to unpack it as we go. So, vet medicine is such a strong professional identity, right? I'm a
Yeah.
doctor, I'm a vet, okay? What was emotionally hardest about leaving that path? Not just practically, but emotionally. How did you detach your identity from being a vet and to saying, okay, I want to squiggle, I want to transition, I want to move horizontally? How because that's one of the things I find hardest when you've done a job and somehow it's like an identity to you. I am a scientist, I am a doctor, I'm a teacher, I'm a vet. How were you able to manage that emotional detachment identity wise?
I think, to be fair, it wasn't easy. And if anybody said it was easy just to move on, I would say that's not true. First of all, I needed to be more mature. You need to be more mature and try to detach from things and try to unpick the various scenarios and situations you're at that point. Are you
Mm.
trying to focus on growth? Are you more focused on what people would say, what that identity was at that
So
point?
a growth mindset.
Yes, or are you thinking about what the future is going to look like for you? Not just for you as well, also for the family and the kids that you're
Mm.
having.
This one is
So,
deep.
so I needed to first of all
I need to
grieve that.
write as you talk.
Thank you. I needed to grieve that identity that I knew as myself. And then at the point, being a vet was who I was.
Mm.
I did work really hard to get to where I was. I worked really hard to be the best graduating student at that time. So you could imagine that this was what I actually wanted. I wanted to be the best at it. But I had to unlearn the idea and also understand that changing direction did not mean failure. Emotionally, it took me time to accept choosing a different path, but I needed to understand that choosing a different path was something I needed to do to fit my family, to fit my children, to fit my current season, and also that new location because I was moving away from Nigeria and moving into the UK environment. So I needed to understand what worked best at that point.
Mm.
What skills did the UK value at that point and what will give me the best in the future.
Yeah. And also adjusting to the cultural difference. You know, one of
Yeah.
your videos on your channel, when you talk about life as an immigrant, how you had to adjust. So there was this word, this phrase you used, or this sentence. You said, mourning the identity you have left behind, but celebrating the future, something of that nature. So it's like a double whammy, so to
Yes, it
say, a
is.
double, an irony, so to say, two
Yes.
sides.
Yes,
Yeah.
because there's always advantage and disadvantages to things. So you need to always consider and find a balance.
Mm. You know, I was going to ask you next in my question card, how did becoming a mom change how you thought about work and career decisions? But you've already answered it because you said when you were making those career moves or whichever career decision you want to make, you don't just think of what works for you. You also think of how the family, how it fits or how it wraps around the family. I don't mean to be controversial or anything, but do you think this burden is more on women? Because this podcast or this
100%.
episode is women work and the weight we carry. Do you think in the household is not to stir the pot or any controversy, but do you think as we have it, whether in any culture, do you think our men also, when they make these decisions about their career, do you think the weight of how it affects the family also comes into place? Or is the weight or the burden just on us to think of how our career wraps around or fits our family life? In your experience, what do you think?
So I would say, first of all, generally, majority of the time, the weight is on the woman. But I would also say that I've seen scenarios where, especially if I look at my senior stakeholders, my senior colleagues, to be
Mm,
fair, their husbands are the ones that are carrying the weight at home. So I
that's
think
good.
I
That's
think
that's
it's to
so good
find
to hear.
that balance. For me personally, I'm having to carry that weight more, and I'm happy to do that. I think first of all is being able to be comfortable with the fact that you have decided to do that, not that it's
Mm,
placed on you. Because when it's placed
mm,
on you, you feel
mm.
anger, you feel like you're being held back from something. But having that opportunity to be there for my kids, be there for my home, and also thrive in my career, and also kind of think about next steps and opportunities to squiggle, I think it's a good balance. It's a good balance to
It
have.
does balance, and I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you found that sweet spot where you are there to hold things down, to support, and still flourishing while you do
Yeah,
that. And that's where we want most of our women to come to. Even if you wrap things around the family, don't sell your dream. Your dreams are valid. Keep pushing. And if the time comes for you to take those career moves that will shoot you, let there be compromises. Let the partner or the man be able to also hold down the fort, pick up the ball and say, yes, you held it down. Now it's your turn. Go fly. So
exactly.
I think that's a sweet spot to be in
100%.
when people are understanding in any partnership. Thank you so much for that. Studying with children, because you mentioned that even finishing your bachelor's, because I remember then like studying with children, you've retrained multiple times, just like me. I think at this point, anyone who tells me to write any exam is going to be, I'm writing an exam on Monday and I want that to be my last exam
Oh
ever. I'm
God.
tired. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I've done a bachelor's, I've done a master's, I've done a PhD, I've done an apprenticeship, I've done project fundamentals, and I'm like, I think I'm done now. So you've done it, I've done it as well, multiple times with raising kids. Hmm. How did you realistically manage studying alongside parenting and working time? We're talking of time, energy, motivation. How does that work though
You've
for you?
already said it realistically. So, and there is no perfection to it at all. I studied in pockets of time. I would say that helped. So, if it means early mornings, waking up slightly earlier than I would have, then I would wake up earlier before the kids and do, even if it's just an hour studying, evenings, maybe when they're having a nap, or even sometimes when they are studying themselves. So imagine, I also used to give them homeworks to do. So we will probably think about those homeworks would take an hour. So while everybody's on the table studying, that is also giving me the opportunity to get an hour into the study time that I'm needing as well. I also had to let go of the idea that I'd do things the ideal way. Unfortunately, you do have other baggages, you do have kids, you do have family, you do have other things that you need to plan that is away from that studying. And also thinking about your full time job as well. As I mentioned previously, while I've squared good, I've also had the opportunity to do on-the-job trainings, on-the-job apprenticeships. So there were so many baggages that I needed to consider to make things well. Unfortunately, there was no ideal way. So I needed to be realistic to myself and also focus on what matters more than having it perfectly. I would also say that remote work helped massively because it removed those frictions, like, when you consider commuting time, rigid schedules, like having to be
Yeah,
at work by
remote work
9
helps. It does. It
and finishing by
does.
5.
It
So it gave
does.
me that breathing room to juggle roles, juggle responsibilities, and fix things around times that are suitable for me and my family and my full-time work at the time.
Thank you so much. Can I ask? Thank you so much. Lots of nuggets there. I'll unpack some of them. I just wanted to ask briefly. Both of us have done on the job apprenticeship while working. Did you get, so was yours a question of, yes, you're working 5 days, which is 1.0 FTE full time equivalent? Did you get 7 days off? Sort of 7 days or one day in sorry, did you get 7 hours or one full day off to study without getting a pick? Was that how your package also worked? You get this time to study, but we're going to pay you full time and it's going to be committed to your learning, either of the job training or whatever. Was that also how it worked
Yes,
for you
that
with the
that was
apprenticeship?
yes, that was how
Good.
my apprenticeship worked, where I had to do full days work as